Welcome back to another edition of Myth Badger videos. In our ongoing series on using Vectr.com for graphic design, I think it's time to look at building a basic logo. How about a school logo, or at least some kind of imagery that I can use as an advertisement for our school? Now, my school is the Truman Tigers, so the Tigers seem like a very easy one to do. I'm going to do a Google search. I already actually did a Google search for a tiger head profile. I kind of wanted something along the side of a tiger looking to the side instead of looking head on at me. And I went ahead and I altered the Google search so that it is looking for Creative Commons licensed free pictures, something that I could use without having to pay a royalty fee. Not that I intend to use this for any commercial purposes, but I want to go ahead and take it safe. I went ahead and as I was looking through this, I came across one that stood out to me, and it was actually this one here. What I liked about it is that it's a nice side profile. It's a nice calm picture of a tiger. It shows a bit more than just the head, and it's got that nice black background, which is going to be useful in terms of putting some text on my design. So I went ahead and downloaded a copy of that photo. I'm going to come back to Vectr here, and we're going to upload the image. That's this little cloud icon in the toolbar. And I'm going to find my tiger picture and open it. Now the picture ends up being much larger than the space that I'm intending to use. I could zoom out, but really I just want to shrink this down a little bit, make it a little more manageable. So what I'm going to do is after clicking on my picture, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change the dimensions down here at the bottom. And I'm going to change the dimensions. I'm going to half those dimensions. It says 1072. Let's go ahead and just put it at 500 for a pixel size. And now we have a much more manageable image here. Okay, so I've got my image. Now what I want to do is I kind of want to cut out some of the excess space here. I want to make something that's a little bit more narrow and not so high. Or wide but not high. To do that, probably the first thing I'm going to do is let's go ahead and figure out what I want to cut out. I'm going to use some squares here, some rectangles here. Let's see, one here, and let's make another one up top. And what I want to do is I kind of want to narrow down the space that I'm going to be using here. That seems good. I got to leave a little bit of black space at the top. I still leave part of the body. And I'm cutting it off just kind of below the whiskers here. So let's see what that looks like when it's finally cut. So subtracting, this is what I would get if I take that out. And that might actually make a really good border for what we want to do. I think I like that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to subtract and remove that piece. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm working with. I kind of want to round the corners a little bit. So how about we go ahead and get a rounded rectangle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this rectangle. I made it a bit big here. I'm going to shrink this and move it a little bit, and then I'm going to expand it out to reach the edge, and as it gets to the edge it's going to snap into place at the edge of my picture. And let's bring that up so I can see back down. There we go. And we see there's just a little bit sticking around out the edge, which is awesome. What I want to do is I'm going to do an intersect here so it keeps the parts that are overlapping. And when I do that, I have my final image. It's kind of rounded. Okay, so that hits kind of what I wanted to do. You know what? I'm realizing I might have cut off a little more than I wanted. So let's do this. I'm going to back out here. I'm going to back out to here, and let's get a rounded rectangle. No, let's turn that off, and let's move this up a little bit. I want to leave a little space. Now that I look at what it was cutting, I want to put a border around the edge. And if I put a border, it was going to cut off part of the whiskers. So let's move that a little bit, and let's go ahead and do this again. I'm going to subtract to get rid of the excess, and I've left a little bit of space around the edge. I'm going to get my rounded rectangle. Let's drag this up. See, one of the nice things about graphic design and this one is you can make some corrections. However, Vectr does not have a full list for undo, so you can only undo so far. That is something to watch for if you feel you need to make a correction. So let's go ahead and do this. I've got little points sticking out the end, so I'm going to do an intersect. That's going to leave only the parts that overlap, and you see now I have these rounded corners around the edge. I think that's going to work for what I'm wanting to do. Okay, so now that I've got that, let's look at adding a border here. So I'm going to add a rounded rectangle border here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat the same thing that I did before. I'm just going to put this out to the edges. To empty that space out, what I'm going to have to do is use a second rounded rectangle. And let's change the color so I can see what I'm doing here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of find a spot where I feel like I want it to sit in the corner. And I'm going to drag this down to the other corner to kind of get a somewhat even sides all the way. I feel like I need to bring this one in just slightly. There we go. And then what I can do is using my layers list over here, I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to do an exclude so it leaves only the part that doesn't overlap, which happens to be my border here. And there we go. I feel like that's a good border actually. Okay, so let's add some text here. I want to add some text into space. I want the tiger to look like it's looking at the text. So let's pick a spot about right there. And let's do Truman Tigers, okay? The space is not big, but once I finish typing it, it looks good. I'm feeling like let's back this up and let's do 2 lines. There we go. That looks lined up well. That seems to be well centered on both the left and right. Let's just make some slight adjustments there. But I want to use a different color. Tigers are typically associated with orange. So here we go. I've got this eyedropper. And the eyedropper allows me to pick a color. So let's get a color that kind of goes with the orange that's in here. Let's get a slightly lighter. There we go. That looks like a good, nice light orange. Let's do that. And I want to go ahead and get this code right here. I'm going to copy this color code. So what I want to do is I want to match the border to kind of go with the words. So I've got this color wheel calculator that's out online, and I'm just going to paste that code I just got from here. And I think I like the green look, but I want to pick a green that kind of matches a little bit, or is at least close enough. So let's look through here and see if we can find a green as we go through here. That's kind of a little more on the blue side. That's almost too green, but it might give us kind of a starting spot. So we find that the green's kind of, that's a good green, but I feel like I need to darken it a little bit. So there we go. That actually, let's see what that one looks like. I'm going to copy this code and come back over, and I'm going to select my border here, and I'm going to paste that code in to see how that comes out. And actually that looks well. It's a nice striking green color. It's not too neon-y, it's not too bright, but it's just good enough that it kind of makes the whole thing pop a little bit with the border. And the tiger looks like it's looking at the name of the school. Let's go ahead and make this a bit bigger in size. I'm using the Over the Rainbow font to get kind of a script look. And I've centered everything so that way it looks the line height. I can spread that out a little bit. There we go. I mean, it makes it feel like it takes up more space. Let's do 130%. Let's get that centered there, and there we go. I think we've got a comfortable image we can use. I like the colors. I like the look, the way it's all positioned. I'm good with this one. So I think I'm going to say it's done, and I want to export this in the end. So I'm going to hit export. And I'm going to save this as an SVG file, so that's what I want to download here. And let's just go ahead and Truman Tiger, I don't know, image. We'll just go with that. And we've got a file here. So as you can see, it just kind of takes some playing around, and you mess around with it to figure out what you want, the shapes you want, and the colors you want, and you can make a somewhat comfortable logo. I'm sure some of you out there could very easily make something much better than this. or maybe pick some different colors that you like better. Feel free to add some comments if you've got any feedback on the design, and thank you for watching. Feel free to hit that subscribe button to keep up with all of our content here at Myth Badger Videos.